The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If we didn't start late, half the time I don't even think we'd start the show at all. So we're here at least.
That's right.
We're here.
That's right.
So, and by we, I mean myself, Justin Kinner. We have Casey McAllister. We have Elliot Rearing. And look who decided to show up to work today. We got Mr. Jacob Tissett, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. You know, and it just happens.
It does. And
all this rain.
Yeah.
Snowed me in. Flooded me in.
Day number 2 with Pearl. Pearl, good morning. How are we today?
Hello, doing great. I will say I weathered the storm. I couldn't find my regular umbrella this morning, and the only other option was a Pirates umbrella. So I just bolted out there and got it rained on. We don't need that.
That's right.
Those vibes today.
There we go.
No Pirates umbrellas in this studio.
Why do you have a Pirates
Phillips
umbrella?
is covering you up a little bit. There you go.
Oh, well, so we did tell her, we told her to bring some stuff just to make that a little bit more of a living space over there. I see, is that what, I'm assuming that's a Brandon Phillips?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, fair enough. But Jacob asked a good question, Pearl. What's the story with the Pirates umbrella? How do you accidentally just have a Pirates umbrella?
Oh, no,
hanging
it's
around?
just when me and my parents went to Pittsburgh to watch the Reds at one point. They were giving away umbrellas, but...
That's a useful giveaway.
I'd rather stomp on it. Yeah, I feel like half the time they're in Pittsburgh, it's a rain delay. So
yeah, that's true.
Well, it's not the best weather here today, but we got a lot to get into. The Reds have won 5 straight. Obviously, closed out that series with the White Sox with that Game 3 win to avoid getting swept, and they followed that up by sweeping the Cleveland Guardians. And then they take Game 1 last night against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll talk about that more in detail coming up. We will be joined by the Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman shortly here around the corner as well. But yeah, so how we feeling? You anointed the season was dead last week. Nothing changing?
Nothing changes, yeah.
You're honestly, I think we were more right after those buy or sells. Because we bought them getting back to 500.
Correct.
We bought fans buying back in when they shouldn't.
I think I said an 8-game winning streak.
Yeah, so
I'm
3 more.
I hear you, Casey. How are you, man?
It was a good Friday show, too. I predicted the sweep.
You did.
Good.
You did.
I think the Reds are 100%. Listen, if you want to believe in them, you believe in them. I believe in them that they're going to do something bad down the stretch. But that's okay.
Why would you think that when it's happened every year for the last 30 years?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing they don't tell you about on Positive Reds Twitter is that every single year is worse than the next. But that's beside the point. They've won 5 in a row. It's positive vibes. Positive vibes. They take this series and they take the Cubs series, then we'll start talking.
By the way, my self-esteem is shot thanks to you. Just want to make that clear. Last night, smoking a cigar, having a drink, watching the Reds game out on the patio.
Of course you're having a drink.
Didn't even post it. Yeah, of course. Didn't even post it. I was about to send it to you. I'm like, you know what? I would rather just go to sleep feeling good about myself as opposed to whatever Elliot was going to make fun of my tiny TV.
I feel bad I said I wasn't going to. The TV wasn't that bad.
Yeah, no, I said I wasn't going to make fun of the TV. That's what I told you.
Did.
I said I wasn't going to do it. I said I wasn't going to do it.
Now, I'm just being stubborn, and I don't want to replace the TV. I think that is just the new permanent outdoor 12-inch TV for all my guests and all my friends when they come over.
I like it. I think it was cute.
All right, fair enough.
Want to pinch its cheeks?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we do have headlines coming up around the corner. We'll dive into some NFL stuff. We're going to jump into all things Reds with the Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman coming up here just in a few moments. We'll step away. Case, are we good? We have them ready to rock? Okay. Yep. We'll step away for a few moments. We have the Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman ready to rock with us when we come back. More Off the Bench next.
Old times now, being back with Elliot and with Casey, and some things never change, and I just have that comfort level about me today that I haven't had in a long, long time.
And Elliot's ready to rock. He has questions all lined up for you.
I do. I've got some good ones today.
Yeah.
I doubt that. I'll judge whether they're good or not.
Are they baseball related? I am curious.
Yeah, there's a few that have baseball in them.
A few, yes. Hey, Elliot, we're going to have Marty Brennaman on. I'll get a few baseball questions lined up.
Listen, he talks about baseball enough. I'll sprinkle some other questions at him.
Fair enough. Hey, Marty, last week, we want to jump into the Pete Rose conversation quickly. That was huge news last week, baseball reinstating Pete Rose back into baseball, and obviously a lot of Pete Rose fans wanted that, but I found myself kind of conflicted because when the news came out, I don't know why, but it kind of pissed me off a little bit because I felt like for 35 years, baseball pretended that they truly cared about an individual who bet on baseball, pretended that that's what they were outraged about. But not even a calendar year after Pete's passing, they just decide that, you know what, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal. Come on back into the sport, my friend. I wasn't a big fan of that. I know you weren't either. A lot of people have voiced their displeasure with that. Should we be more positive that he was reinstated back into baseball, or is it kind of hard to overcome the frustration for baseball being petty over the last 35 years?
I think it's very hard to overcome the frustration about the way the game has handled this whole thing. I'm always enthusiastic and encouraged by people who are transparent because in most cases they feel comfortable in their own skin, and if they're transparent about things, at least they're shooting from the heart. In this case, I think the commissioner, who I'm not a huge fan of and never really have been. I think he's an elitist. I don't know that when he has to make a tough decision, he makes right decisions. And I think that, as you mentioned a moment ago, Pete dies in September, and 5 or 6 months later, whatever the case might be, all of a sudden on a Tuesday morning, they proceed to announce that he's off the suspended list, along with Shoeless Joe Jackson and probably some other people who will not be affected by this. I've got a problem with that. And I also caution fans, and I know I'm speaking to Pete fans. He's off the list and he's eligible, but I think it may be a tough road to hoe to eventually get the vote necessary in the fall of 27 from the 16-member committee that will be voting on such things. Hopefully it'll go through without a problem, but I think that there still could be some rough road to hoe down the road.
When you talk about those 16 individuals, obviously former riders, part of that panel as well. Is it just the riders that you would be concerned about as far as what their vote would be, that the panel as a whole? Again, you just voiced it a little bit. What's your biggest concern when it does come to that?
Well, I mean, the 16-member committee, Justin, it involves former players, Hall of Fame players. It involves current or past club executives who had great integrity and represented the game well in their time with whatever team they may have been involved in. And they also involve media people. It's a cross-section of people. To be eligible for the Hall of Fame, you've got to get 12 of their 16 votes in order to be on the ballot. 75% of the votes. And, I'm going to preface what I'm getting ready to say, because I'm not one of those people. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there have been people who have expressed the opinion that baseball could load that committee up with people who they know will vote no to Pete, and that will take care of it. I don't know that baseball would do that, but the fact of the matter is, those committees change with the wind. I mean, if you're on the committee, that doesn't mean you're on for 2 years or 3 years, or there's a term on which you are on that committee before you could be replaced. Those things can change from month to month as far as the people who are on that committee. So I hope and I'm not saying this is a way baseball will handle it, but at the same time, I don't think you can discount that possibility.
Pete Rose night at the ballpark last week, really cool. I know you got to MC the Q&A before with Reds Hall of Famers, some of Pete's closest friends. How was that night for you? Obviously, Pete Rose's family in attendance, a full ballpark, great atmosphere.
I told her twice that night about what her dad, how happy her dad would be if he were involved and saw the leadership that she provided in having the club, the Pete Rose family, represented in the best manner possible. And so she did that. And I was thrilled to be on the field, especially with guys like Barry Larkin and Eric Davis and George Foster, guys that had played with and for Pete as a player, as a manager and a teammate. I just think the club handled the whole thing extremely well. Not surprising, because you can say what you want to about the organization as it relates to personnel on the field. I don't think anybody can ever find fault with their ability to stand up and be counted on a big night that they're responsible for pulling off. I don't think they've ever failed, and they certainly didn't fail last week.
Marty, it's good to see you, pal. I've missed you.
Same here, Elliot.
I've missed you so much. It's been way too long.
The hell you did. You didn't miss me.
Oh, I missed you so much. I'm gonna start with some serious questions, so if that's okay with you. So I got a couple serious Reds questions. They sit above a game above 500 right now through 49 games. Are they better or worse than what you thought they'd be coming into this season?
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I felt, this team has historically been a terrible start team. Even when they were good. I can remember back in '75, the day that Sparky Anderson made the decision to move Pete Rose in from left field to third base, because the club was a 500 team, roughly 1 over, 1 under, even, I think, after 30 games. And they needed more offense, and he went to Pete, and Pete said, sure, went to third, Foster went to left field, and the rest is history. So that team got off to a terrible start, and this team didn't get off to a terrible start. It got off to a very average start. And I think they're in good shape right now. I mean, 5 wins in a row, and they're 1 game over the 500 mark with today and tomorrow against Pittsburgh and Thursday, and then they come home to play the Cubs in a truly big series. So as frustrating as they have been, and they've been frustrating, because of their lack of offense. And quite honestly, even though they won 5 games in a row, except for maybe 1 game, they haven't run over anybody. They're doing it largely on pitching, but right now they're doing it on good pitching plus timely hitting. And recent days, they've done it with the leadership of Will Benson, who I'm thrilled to see do what he did, because and I don't know the young man, but I know from everybody I've talked to said he's one of the finest human beings they've ever met. So I'm happy as a dickens for him. And we'll see. Now, the bell will have to be answered come Friday night when they take on the Chicago Cubs, because that's a team people have picked to win the division. Right now, they're sitting atop the National League Central.
Why did it take so long for Will Benson to come up? No disrespect to Jacob Hurtubise or Blake Dunn, but we've seen power out of Will Benson. We've seen extra base hits. We've seen good defense. We've seen all the tools it takes to be a good Major League Baseball player from him. The downside being he strikes out a decent amount. But outside of that, why did it take the Reds so long to bring him up to spark offense into a team that, as you just said, struggles offensively?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons, and I don't disagree with him. He did not have a very good spring.
Yeah.
And then, they sent him to Louisville, and he was very average the first time he went down there. He didn't tear the International League up. And then he comes back for 1 game, and that was probably unfair because he had to face Justin Verlander, who struck him out 4 straight times, and they sent him right back. At that point, he started to own pitching in the league, and the kid had to change his approach to hitting. His batting stance had to be refined to the point where he could get at certain pitches inside. And I think they've accomplished that. I think he's worked hard. Now, the main thing is to continue to do what he's doing, because if he continues to hit, you have to find a place for him to play. He's a fine defensive player. He can run. There's not a whole lot he can't do when he's on top of his game, and he's getting that chance now with Tito. Tito's going to play him, and until he says yes, you can, and you have overcome your problems, or no, you can't. And at that point, then they'd have to make other plans. But he's certainly been a guy who has shown the ability to change and to become better at what he does for a living. And the last night was a good example. He was he was 0 for 3, and he came up late in the game and had a double. In the old days, if he'd have gone 0 for 3, he probably would have struck out his 4th time up.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to see him turn it around, and I hope it's permanent.
Are there any differences that you've noticed with this team compared to last year's team with Terry Francona at the helm?
Oh, I think it's like night and day.
Yeah.
And it changed. Let me tell you something, Ellie. It changed immediately. I can remember back when they named him manager, and within 48 hours, he had talked on the phone to every member of the 40-man roster. Little things like that. Going down to the Dominican in December, I think Nick Kroll and Brad Metter both went to meet face-to-face with guys that could impact this ball club. Spent particular time with Elly De La Cruz. I just think that you're talking about, as Nick Kroll said to me way back, in the last 30 years, he's the best manager in baseball. Yeah. Players love him. Players love his openness. They love his honesty. And there's just a different attitude in the clubhouse. It's a different culture on this team. And when he was named manager, and my comment was then, today, and still is to this day, in all the years that the Castellini family has owned this ball club, that's the single biggest move that they have ever made. And that was to name him manager of the Reds. Now, having said that, what worries me a little bit, and I'm not seeing it as much as I thought I would be, he was pumped up because of his reputation so much that I think there are fans who erroneously expect him to be a miracle worker. And as we all know, great managers' careers start with having great players, and players who can win. And so I think he will make a major difference in the years that he's here. I know he's thoroughly enjoying his job, and he loves this bunch of players that he has around him. And I think it was just the right move, one that I don't think anybody expected to happen, but it did. And thank God he's managing the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me. It's why I kind of I didn't, excuse David Bell. He didn't win a ton during his time as Reds manager. But at the end of the day, players have to play well. And I think if you look at this roster right now, there's a decent amount of players from the outside that have come in. Jose Trevino, Gavin Lux, Austin Hayes. They've all come in and they've looked great. But it all comes down to the core. Matt McClain has struggled this season. Elly De La Cruz isn't playing up to the Elly De La Cruz that we all have, probably outrageously high expectations for. Spencer Steer's not playing well. Tyler Stevenson come back from injury. He's not playing well. Do you still believe in this young core, the core that the Reds and Nick Kroll and Brad Meter and everybody else believes in right now to be the future?
Yeah, I do, although I think they miss a boat in the offseason. I think the priority one for me, and I think I speak for a lot of people that are relatively close to this situation, they needed to go out and get a veteran hitter who had a track record of hitting home runs and driving in runs, and put that guy in the middle of the lineup to take the pressure off the Spencer Steers of the world and the Will Bensons and all the rest of these young Matt McClains and all these young players. And they, for whatever the reason, probably it was a monetary reason, they did not do that. It would have made a major difference as far as I'm concerned. They didn't do it, so they got to go with what they've got. I still think that this club can make the postseason. I still think this team can win the division because it's the most winnable division there is in Major League Baseball. Thank God for that. Thank God they're not in the National League West or the American League East, although that's a mess too, other than the New York Yankees. So I'm confident. I would be more confident if they had that big bopper in the middle of the lineup that could drive the ball and knock in runs.
I agree with you. That's enough serious Reds questions. Now it's time to get to the good stuff. Marty.
No, these are stupid questions coming up now.
These are great questions. These are really good questions. I'll start with a semi-baseball related one. Your top four, obviously the Pete Rose ceremony was last week. It was great. Good job, Marty. You were awesome there. I love the clip with you and Jim Day.
Thank you.
Your top four greatest Reds of all time.
Oh, gosh.
Mount Rushmore.
Well, gee, Joe, that's tough. My personal top four favorite Reds. Now, suppose you had asked me, can I name what I think is the best player of all time in a Reds uniform? What would you say to that?
Who do I think you would say is the best player in a Reds uniform?
Well, you can tell me who you think. Guys.
Well, I've got two. So Pete Rose.
I'm not talking about. Let me interrupt you. I'm not talking about players you've seen. I'm just talking about who you think is the best player of all time in a Reds uniform.
Probably Pete. Pete was probably one of Pete. I mean, the stories that my grandparents and my parents tell me about Pete.
Right.
I would have to go with Pete.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You want to know who I think?
Yeah, I do.
Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson. Okay.
Greatest player in the history of this franchise. Yeah, that's who I'd say, pal.
All right.
They traded him in the 60s when they maintained publicly that he was over the hill and all he did was go to the National American League and win an MVP award. And I think Frank Robinson, probably from an all-around perspective, is the best player in the history of the franchise.
I like that answer.
Now, my top four favorites.
Yeah.
Well, Joe Morgan and Pete would be there with great prejudice because they were my two pals. After that, Robinson obviously would be one of those. And after that, I don't know. I mean, you got Bench in there. It would probably be Bench. So my top four is located with is filled with people that have been in the players in the past, and I'm an old guy, and I like to reflect back upon the glory days and how in the world can you ignore the team that's considered to be the best team in the history of the franchise and arguably one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the history of baseball when you're making your choices for the best players, in your opinion, that wore that team's uniform. So,
I like that. That's a good answer. You know what? Who would have been in mine? Mike Moustakas. Mike Moustakas is in my top 4.
See, there you go. The first stupid question, first stupid statement that you've made on this program today. And you've set a record, by the way. Because you've not been stupid for 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Now it's going to get real stupid. You're a pretty humble guy, Marty. And on September 6th, when they unveil your statue outside of Great American Ballpark, do you think that it will be 25 feet tall? And do you think that Redzilla will perhaps parade that statue around the city and stopping it at various points?
I don't think Godzilla will do that. I think it'd probably be a little bit heavy in order for them to do that. And 25 feet tall, no, I don't think it will be that tall either. I'm going to have some input. Already have had to a small degree. And Tom Tashia, who's a man who is brilliant in what he does by way of such things, so much so that he now makes it plaques for the National Baseball Hall of Fame every summer for the players inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But I think it'll be very tastefully done. Have great confidence in that. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the finished product whenever it's ready.
How long did you have to pose?
Well, actually, it's interesting. I know you asked it as a stupid question, but I will tell you that I spent an hour and a half down at the ballpark one day in the radio booth, seated where I normally sat when I was doing Reds baseball, and they have a machine called a scanning machine. And don't ask me the whys and wherefores of the thing because I have no interest in, I have no knowledge of why they do it, but they scan the front of you and they scan the back of you. And that's a necessity in terms of putting together a bronze statue of anyone. And so in terms of posing, if you consider that to be such a thing, then I've already done that once. I don't know whether I'll have to do that again down the road or not.
I'll get invited to this ceremony, right?
Oh, yeah. Your check's in the mail.
You have my address. The chat. I have two chat questions for you, Marty. The chat loves you. Number one, I don't know if you're allowed to spoil it because I don't know what you're allowed to tell us. Short or poofy hair, Marty? What kind of hairstyle? Short. Okay.
Short.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Molly, I don't know if you remember Molly, but Molly has a question for you. How much Laura's lean beef is really in your fridge or freezer?
A couple of frozen packages.
Okay, all right. Listen, if you got extra, you have my address, so we're always looking. So,
well, that's lean meat. I don't know that will have any effect for you, but go ahead.
All right, last stupid question before we throw it to Pearl. Last stupid question, Marty. It went viral on the internet, this little battle. 100 men versus one gorilla. Now, I'm going to give you the caveat here that the 100 men that are facing this gorilla are me. It's 100 me's that are out there. Who would win in a battle, a gorilla or 100 Elliots?
I would have to say 100 Elliots, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because if push came to tug and those 100 Elliots realized that they were in deep trouble, albeit against only one big gorilla, all those 100 Elliots had to do was to start talking and throw out stupid questions. And that gorilla would just pass out with frustration and the battle would be over.
Thank you, Marty. That means a lot. That means
You're
a lot.
welcome, Elliot.
It's
nice
always
seeing you, man.
It's nice seeing you. We're going to throw it over to Pearl. We got a new intern, Pearl, Marty. She wants to ask you at least a question here.
All right, Pearl.
Well, okay. I guess two hard.
Don't be nervous now. Pearl, don't be nervous.
I guess two real hard-hitting ones. The first one, which one of these guys do you think I should replace?
Should you replace?
Yeah.
I don't want to see you replace anybody. They just add you. Because
good answer.
I like the chemistry there. I like Elliot. I like Justin. I like Casey. I don't think you need to change anything. You just need to add to this star-studded array of talent that's already seated.
Okay, that's not what they thought you were gonna say. Elliot definitely thought.
I thought you were gonna kick me out, Marty. I appreciate it. I'm gonna frame that little video. Yeah, that's going to my phone.
All right. And I just have kind of a personal burning question too. I personally always had a dream scenario of Francona managing the Reds, and always thought it'd be a great idea. Never thought it would happen because obviously he was retired. Lo and behold, Reds signed him and brought him out of retirement. I heard some things. Maybe you may have had some influence. I've always admired how outspoken you've been on the radio. Do you think maybe you had some influence, or how did that all come to be if you had your hands in it?
Good question.
Are you asking me if I did or if I didn't, right?
Yes.
I did.
Okay. Okay, how so?
That's what you asked me. So
yes. Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
Here's the thing you need to know. He is one of my dear friends in life, and has been since 1987 when he played one lackluster season with the Cincinnati Reds. He and I just hit it off from day one, and we've stayed in touch a bit over all these years. And I called him the day after they fired David Bell and asked him if he was interested in coming back. And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, are you interested in coming out of retirement? And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "The Reds fired David Bell yesterday. I know you didn't know that because you don't pay any attention to what's going on around the world." I said, "But they did. Would you be interested in talking to the Reds?" And he said, "I would never say no." And so I said, "Can I give Nick Kroll your cell phone number?" And he said, "Yes." So I told him to stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I'll call him right back. I called Nick. I said, have you compiled a list yet? And he said, "We're in the process of doing that right now." And I said, "You have Francona's name on there?" And he said, "Why wouldn't I?" He said, "I don't know that we have much of a chance of getting him, but," he said, "I think in the last 30 years, he's the best manager in baseball." I said, "You want his cell phone number?" And he said, "You have it?" I said, "Yeah, he's one of my best pals." He said, "Please give it to me." And then I called Tito back and said, "They're going to call you. Stay tuned. The rest is history." It's the way it happened.
I love that. I guess, Reds country is really forever indebted to you.
That's right. That's
Not
right.
really, no, because I think they would have called him anyway. And I really believe because of our relationship, had I not called him and they had called him, he would then call me. And he would say, "Tell me about Nick Kroll and Brad Metter," which I did when he knew they were going to fly out to Tucson to meet with him. And I gave them glowing recommendations because they're both moral and ethical guys that have no hidden agendas, and what they tell you is a fact. And so I think it could have very well happened anyway without my help, believe me.
Marty, how's it going? Usually,
Case, what's up, man? They saved the best for last, did they?
They did.
Yeah. Usually I don't get an opportunity to actually talk to you on these interviews, but I have one burning question for you.
Yes,
who
sir.
better to ask this question to than you, Marty? I'm an expecting father very soon. June 8th is the due date for my baby. Do you have any fatherly advice for me? Any new father advice for me?
June 8th is your, what's that?
It's when my baby is due.
Oh, it's due? Mm-hmm. No kidding. See,
That's
you
right.
give me an update because I know time flies when you're having fun. I think it's, I'm happy for you. Do you all know what you're going to have?
We're having a baby girl.
You are. Well, God bless you, because all the people I've talked to down through the years, and I have 2 daughters, you really are not tested until you have a girl, because raising a boy is like a walk in the park compared to raising girls. And they are going to reach a point in their livelihood where your wife has no knowledge about a damn thing. They know everything. And that's when the wars begin. I think you need to be tested when you have a daughter. Hopefully down the road you all have a son, and that would make it perfect. But you're gonna enjoy this ride, man, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you. Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. I will not know anything here in the next couple of years.
No, you might, but your wife won't.
Oh, my wife.
That's where the battle.
Oh, got it.
No. What I'm saying is, don't misunderstand. What I'm saying is that for some reason, most daughters verbally battle their mothers, rather than their dads. And that's just the way it is. I don't know why. I've experienced it. And so and if you don't, and they're docile, and the arguments or the misunderstandings are at a minimum, then you're truly blessed. But I think down the road, your wife will be tested, and you will be too, to some extent, because little girls are headstrong, boy. But wait till they're 12, 13, 14 years old. That's when the fun begins.
That's where the fun begins. Thank you.
I use the word fun with quotes around it.
All right, well, good stuff. The Hall of Famer, Marty Brennaman, awesome enough to give us some time today. Marty, we'll send you out with this. Excuse me. Last night in the broadcast, Tommy Thrall shared that they were late. They missed the team bus because Jim Day gave him the wrong departure time.
Yeah, can I now, you brought that up. I didn't. So I have something to say about that now.
I'm lobbing that up for you. Take it. Yes.
Well, Sunday, I was home and I watched the game on TV, and the game's long over, and I'm sitting here and I get a telephone call from someone close to the ball club who informed me that Jim Day, due to a typo, he meant to let the boys know that the plane was leaving at 5. The bus was leaving the ballpark at 5:30, and inadvertently he typed 5:40. And so Nick Thrall and John Sadak and Chris Welsh and who's the fourth one? There was 4 of them. Not Nick Thrall. Tommy Thrall and Jeff Brantley. No, Jeff Brantley wasn't there. Tommy Thrall, Chris Welsh, John Sadak, they missed the bus. And so I was informed of that because I like to keep my hands in this, even though I've been gone for now 6 seasons. This type of information is invaluable to me because in my long career, I love to gain an advantage over an individual if I can. And if I can, I proceed to bury them. And so this information was passed along laughingly to me. And then I followed suit. In fact, last night, I know on television, John Sadak talked about it. And he did after I sent him a text message during the game to please inform your listeners, your viewers, about what transpired the day before. And God bless him, he did. And I'm thankful that Tommy Thrall did the same thing.
Now, Tommy said they were just sitting up there, just talking, just shooting the blank, and the next thing you know, they go down there and the bus is gone. If you're broadcasting today, and that's you, and all of a sudden you're walking down and you expect to see the bus when you walk out there, and that bus is gone, and you find out it's Jim Day's fault, what is the first text, what is the first word, what is the first comment you are making to Jim Day? And we could beep stuff out if you want. We don't care, but whatever the comment may be.
It would not be kind, and the comment cannot be replayed and repeated publicly. I felt sorry for Jim, and I've talked to Jim a couple of times. It was a typo that could happen to anybody. And my question to him was, we're all talking about grown men now. Why do they need to have one person among your broadcast fraternity to let you know what time the bus is going to leave? Because from the time the last pitch is made in a game, that bus is leaving 1 hour, 60 minutes to go to the airport. And that's rarely ever changed unless something untoward occurs that nobody is expecting. And that schedule has to be changed. And so I think that John Sadak and Tommy Thrall and Chris Welch are all grown men. They don't need somebody to hold their hand. They should be able to take it upon themselves. And I can tell you this, I think Jim Day has given a time of departure for a bus out to his colleagues for the last time.
Fair enough. Marty Brennaman, Hall of Fame, former voice of the Reds. Awesome enough to give us some time. Marty, you are the best. We always appreciate any time that you can give us, and we're appreciative of that this morning. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Justin. Nice to be on with you guys.
Love you, Marty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, there you go. All right, we'll step away for a few more off the bench when we come back.
You're the best, dude.
All right, and we are back off the bench. Justin Kinner, we have Pearl, we have Casey, we have Elliot, we have Jacob. We have a full house here today.
Here we go.
So there's that. Shout out to Marty giving us time. And a shout out to Pearl, because I will say we always ask a lot of goofy questions on this show. And very rarely do we knew that Marty had an influence in the Terry Francona connection to the Cincinnati Reds, but I've never heard him go in detail about how he did put them in touch. That was just a brief little snippet in a few articles that were out there. So it's a very good question. And we learned something today, or at least I did. I didn't know how much I knew he had a little influence or little involvement. I didn't realize how much involvement as far as being the true mediator that actually brought them together. I think that's pretty cool. It was a good question.
It was a great question. She asked us before the show, should I have a question? Like, don't ask us. You just gotta ask. Yeah, I'm asking stupid ass questions, so you can do whatever you want.
Sometimes it can be too serious.
Yeah.
I don't think we do that.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, appreciate Marty coming on, and if you missed that, we'll have that clipped, and it'll be obviously repurposed on Chatterbox YouTube to go on later on. We'll use clips and all that stuff throughout the week as well. But nice job on the questions, Al.
Okay.
You know, you always bring out the best in Marty.
I try. I just try to have fun with him. That's all. He talks so seriously all the time. Let's get him to laugh.
Back to back, picking 100 Elliots to beat the gorilla, and then saying that he didn't want you removed from the show. That might be your hottest 3 minutes in show history.
It was. It probably was. Listen, if that is my biggest moment in life, if that was my peak, I'll take it.
And does it concern you at all that Marty had an answer so quickly? Because it's not like we sent him questions before. We don't. Does it concern you at all that it's not like he sat there and you asked him his top 4 favorite Reds? You made him think. You made him pause. There was a little silence. He just knew exactly how many Elliots it was going to take to beat that gorilla because he just said if you talk, it would just annoy the gorilla. What was
Correct.
the exact?
Yeah,
okay,
it was if I uttered any words, the gorilla would have to run away in annoyance. So I take that. That's a win for me.
Fair enough. All right, off the bench again, we're going to dive into the Reds-Pirates game 1 last night as they continue the momentum coming out of that sweep over the Guardians. My concern was that they were going to, crap the bed last night. What you got? You have that look.
Jacob made me laugh.
Yeah, come on,
Kidder. And then you came over to me, and you can't say it.
Was it something in the chat?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Is it something about me?
No.
I guess, sure, why not? Craig, I said Elliot had the hottest 3 minutes on the show, and Craig said, Jacob, did you just call Elliot hot? And I said, well, if Elliot asks, I get him a fat, wet smoochie.
Prove it.
No.
That's not safe for radio.
What are we talking about? The Reds? Yeah, they won 5 in a row. Good for them. I'm happy for them. Listen, there was a point in last night's game where I thought that was going to go to extras and we were going to lose our 6th extra inning game of the year. I'm glad that didn't pan out that way.
Because if it goes to extras,
they lose.
Or I guess they could tie, because we know they'll never score runs. So maybe they'll hit a time limit?
Yeah, they could tie. They don't advance the runner.
No, never.
They're 0-5 in extra inning games this year. They don't advance the base runner. So I was happy that they were able to get that done, hammer the Pirates, who are, again, with all due respect, one of the worst franchises ever in any professional sport, in any sport, any organization.
Do you hate the Pirates?
I hate the Pirates more than I hate.
Do you love to hate the Pirates more than you love the Reds?
Yeah, probably.
I think it's close.
Yeah, I'm more.
You hate the Pirates.
But my thing is, though, when you root for a team that struggles like the Reds, you have to have somebody below us. There has to be somebody else to take the fall, and the Pirates are that team because the Pirates are, no disrespect, they're a joke, and their whole organization is. So, with all due respect, the Reds got that win 7-1, and I felt great. They got to win tonight because we know what happens when we get to a rubber match. So you got to win tonight. Just take the series, have that Wednesday game not matter at all. And we're all going to be happy here.
But also, more importantly, well, not more, equally as important, the Cubs did lose.
That's right, they did.
And they blew it.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I will say, shout out to Casey. Because he updated Reed real late last night that the Cubs lost that game.
Yeah, about 12 in the morning.
Yeah, he sent, and it's even better when Casey does it than Elliot or myself or Trace or Sean or really anyone, because Casey's not watching that game.
Yeah.
So Casey just saw that on Twitter and was like, how can I ruin Reed's night?
Yeah, I didn't even just see it on Twitter. I saw it on our Chatterbox Twitter. Someone on our Chatterbox account tweeted that out. I just had to let Reed know, even though he probably got the update anyway.
From now on, every time I do read a text from Casey, I'm going to picture him doing this before I read it. So,
guys, the Cubs lost.
And by the way, why was he not watching the Reds game last night? Why was he not watching the Cubs game last night? What were you watching?
I'm just saying, there's no way he was watching a non-Reds.
Did you hear what she said?
She knows. She knows.
Logan Paul, WWE.
Absolutely.
I forgot that was last
Knocked out that yeet crap.
No.
Oh yeah, it was juicy.
I'm gonna do Casey's least favorite thing.
Oh my God.
Did you actually watch it?
I watched the recap.
And we're back.
Watched the recap. Oh yeah, baby, that was juicy. Good old 20 seconds.
Casey
of
hates when I ask him if he watched the stuff he tells us he watches.
So there's a big event on Saturday night. What is it, Case?
You tell me.
It's your guy Logan Paul. He's going to be going up against Yeet himself.
No way.
Saturday night main event.
His
That's
name is
Casey's
Yeet.
Super Bowl.
That might be my Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl would probably be
I'm going to be
Casey's.
dialed in. I'm locked in on that. When does it start?
I don't know the time, but I thought you
That's
right
the
away when
thing
I saw
about
the
us
graphic.
talking about these sports.
I'm going to find out.
Nobody knows anything.
You don't
Just
know
give me
the
a minute. I'm
information?
going to find out real quick. I'm going to look it up.
In other
Look up when
semi-wrestling
FCC
news,
plays next to.
wrestling
Yeah, for real.
adjacent, Casey is fully on the Pacers bandwagon the rest of the way.
Oh!
Because I sent him the Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson video, as they've been running that as a lot of promotions. And Tyrese Halliburton, obviously, with Logan Paul in that video. So Casey, they dropped the Tyrese 317 shirts on WWE.com. I'm going to get one for Casey and myself, as long as they can get here before the series starts. And we're going to be big-time Pacers fans the rest of the way. Our Pacers.
Yeah, and we're also going to be purchasing WWE 2K26.
We will,
And
because
why is that, Casey?
Because Tyrese Halliburton is in the game.
the star of our Pacers.
And then we can tag team. I'll be Logan Paul. He can be Tyrese Halliburton.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
really
I will
wish-
say.
I really wish we were close to October.
Yeah,
I
that's
really
right.
wish Halloween was a lot closer than
I
what it
know.
actually
Now,
is.
I know it's, Austin 316, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Tyrese 317 is a bad nickname because that just sounds like a bad shooting night.
Yeah.
Like I can't be walking around saying Tyrese 317. It's like he went 3 for 17 from the field.
Where is the 317 from?
I have no idea. I assumed it was just next after 316.
Not very creative.
Not
but-
at all.
I mean, I get it, but not very creative.
I don't know. That was the first thing I thought. Not a good nickname.
Yes, but yesterday, when you were out, Pearl was a little nervous on the first couple times that she chimed in or whatever, until Casey let it be known that he was a Logan Paul fan. And then all of a sudden, confidence be damned, she was disgusted with the fact that Casey's a Logan Paul guy.
Because here's the thing. I think we all know why you shouldn't like Logan Paul, but I don't know if Casey knows. And that's why. I think that was the shock. I don't think you know.
I think the reasons that you all hate him, I admire him and his courage.
He didn't know.
I don't think he knows.
I'm a big Paul Brothers guy.
And we're
so-
certainly not going to talk about it on this show. But I probably you should probably Google his name from a couple years ago. That's why.
Ohio's finest, Paul Brothers.
That's right.
From Cleveland.
Are they the best combat sports family of our lifetime? Purely money earned? Because they're not. I mean,
Certainly,
Jake
right?
Paul is a legend in terms of just
Money
fighting
earned,
50-year-olds
yeah, I
and,
mean,
and
money-
cleaning up.
Yeah, Jake Paul. I'll tell you what. Jake Paul does beat like a 50-year-old up.
Oh,
better than
yeah.
anybody else could.
Oh, yeah.
So good for him.
That's not true. He
actually
took it
doesn't
easy.
do it very
Yeah,
well.
How old
he
was
took it
Mayweather?
easy.
Was he 60?
He fought Logan Paul.
Huh?
Floyd Mayweather fought Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jake Paul took care of Tyson.
That's
Tyson.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Right after Tyson had, I believe, blood clots.
Yep.
Yep.
And then they had to push the fight back because Mike Tyson's 60.
Yeah.
So it's not much more
So
Paul.
messed up.
That's right.
Don't worry, Case. Don't worry about them. You just stick to your guns.
I am. I'm going to stick to my guns. I know what's right. I know what's right. Beating up on Jey Uso is definitely the right call. I mean, that guy. I can't stand him.
All right, so there are listeners in Dayton. By the time we start this part of the show, they were locked in for Marty.
Yeah.
Of course.
Disappointed in the late start. Very
Naturally.
confused by the last 10 minutes of wrestling talk.
Sure.
Let's rebound and let's give them a good second hour. How do we start this next? Do you want to do headlines?
Headlines.
Let's do headlines. Let's get back on track. Let's
Is this
be a
the latest
serious
headlines in a
sports talk
while?
show.
It's the latest headlines of all
Yeah.
time, I think.
I mean, ever since
No,
Craig
we
yelled
did
at
last
me.
segment a couple weeks ago.
Did we really?
Or it was you said we shouldn't do it anymore because it was so late.
Oh, you might be right.
When I was in the producer's
Yeah,
chair.
you might be right.
So I think
We
that's
used
the
to be a
latest
little
since then.
loosey-goosey with that until
Yeah.
Craig lost his mind.
Craig, look,
He-
when Craig crashed the whip, we fall in line.
That's
and
right.
If he tells us what to do, we're going to
He's
do
got
it.
a wrench. He's got a wrench.
That's right. Yeah.
Producer
So
Craig.
sincere apologies to Craig. We'll get to the headlines as soon as we can.
And I poke fun at that. He's not technically wrong.
No,
technically
not at
wrong.
all. That's the
He's
thing.
not technically wrong. So there's that. But technically, we are going to do headlines on the fourth segment of the show, and that's what's coming up next. This is Off the Bench. Justin Kidder, Pearl, Casey, Elliot, and Jacob. Too many names for last names now, so just cutting that out.
I like that. I like that.
We'll be
You'll
right
screw
back.
those names up
Yeah.
very soon.
Well, Pearl, I kind of forgot your last name, too. That has a little bit to do with it. Let the listeners know what your last name is.
Zabel.
Zabel.
Like Gray,
So, what?
the 18th overall pick in the draft from North Dakota State. Gray Zabel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not spelled the same way.
Yeah.
Sounds the same.
Sounds the same.
Well, all that matters is phonetics, right? We're a verbal show.
Sure.
Justin Kinner, Pearl Zabel, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. More Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back. Although Casey did his best to make sure that never happened again. But here we are. Technically, hour number 2 on the radio. This is Off the Bench. Justin Kinner, Pearl, Casey, Elliot, and Jacob. I don't know why I only gave myself a last name, but we discussed that last segment. We got a lot to get into.
Well, you're the big bad host.
Bad, yeah, the host, the chat.
Well, look, when you put big and bad together, that makes it a positive. That's how that works.
I think if AI summarized the chat when they explained me, okay, he's big and fat, and he's bad, and he's the host. I think that's basically how AI would summarize what the chat would say about me. You realize what you did.
If we read the AI chat summaries of this show, we'd be off radio in 12 seconds.
I hate that the chat summaries always disappears because those are actually very entertaining.
Very entertaining.
But I didn't realize that they disappear after a while. But I would love to pin those and go back and let's guess what the show was about today.
That's true, yeah.
As long as it explains what we talk about, not what the chat talks about sometimes, but nonetheless. All right, let's try to get the train back on the tracks here.
Choo-choo.
And let's get it to our guy, Elliot, who's been very serious today. And he is going to lead the way with Elliot's headlines.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines. Whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's headlines.
Not that many headlines, if we're going to be honest.
We have one real big one that just dropped.
Oh, no.
Arkansas transfer Boogie Fland is pulling out of the NBA draft, and he will be heading to the defending champion University of Florida Gators.
Whoa,
He's the number 1 point guard in 2024 class. He was a McDonald's All-American coming out of high school, played for Arkansas last year in limited time, and was reported to be getting over $5 million for next season if he was to come back. We don't have any information yet, but he's coming back.
Yeah.
$5 million for 1 year of college athletics.
That's insane. I mean, it's insane.
It's crazy.
That's more than Shedeur is getting paid right now.
For 4 years.
Yikes. Headlines. The Reds, they win 7-1 over the Pirates. As we've mentioned, Nick Lodolo, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, striking out 7. Richardson, Barlow, Suter, they shut the game down after Lodolo. The Reds have won 5 in a row, as we've mentioned. The Pirates have lost 4 in a row. The Reds hit 7 doubles. Elly and Lux each had a pair of them. And this was pretty sad, and nobody's allowed to laugh at this. I want to make this very clear. Nobody's allowed to laugh. And if you laugh, you're getting kicked out. It was reported by Charlie Goldsmith yesterday that in batting practice, a Reds player hit a pigeon with a baseball and it died. And then subsequently he tweeted that the pigeon was alive, but it's on life support.
He has risen.
Thoughts and prayers.
Well, I don't know if he's risen.
I think he still pretty clearly didn't.
Yeah, I think he
didn't risen.
Yeah, I think he's the risen. It's not risen.
It went down.
He has come back.
I don't think. I think again.
The tweet said
I don't
he was
think
dead.
so.
Dead.
Yeah, but now he's not. He's less dead.
What do you do with a pigeon on life support? Do you put it on life support?
Yeah.
Does his pigeon mom have to come pull the plug?
I think you. We said no laughing.
Pearl.
Please.
Pearl,
some respect.
look, so when we have a guest
you lasted 2 days.
When we have a guest on and we're going to do an interview, that's time for jokes. When we're talking about pigeons on life support, it's where we're going to lock in.
Please.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say his pigeon mom has to come in, so I don't know.
Thoughts and prayers to the pigeon family.
Was that better or worse? Not better, but which was more brutal, that or Randy Johnson and the bird?
Both are senseless acts that have no place in our love.
Which was more velocity, more impact?
I think Randy Johnson blew that bird up.
Yeah.
I think that
instantaneous.
I think that bird.
So was that more humane because that bird didn't feel?
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it exploded on contact.
There's no life support there.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
this bird's over there like.
It was said.
In fact, I think it's a little disturbing that our Reds batters can't blow up a pigeon.
Yeah, that exit.
The exit velo.
There we go, Casey.
That's
we
go, Casey. What a spin zone. The exit velo is not good enough to take out that pigeon. Somebody at PETA. They're going to come at us. Where was I? The Reds and Pirates are back at it tonight. Nick Martinez takes on Bailey Falter. Reds going for 6 in a row. Pirates are going for 5 in a row losses. The Diamondbacks, they beat the Rangers 9-5. Angels beat the Athletics 4-3 to continue their winning streak. Giants falling to the Royals 3-1. Chris Abubik loses his no-hit bid on an official scoring change. That's tough. He got through 6 innings without allowing a hit before the scorers decided, you know what, that error, that's a hit. So he loses it that way. Tough scenes. The Phillies, they dismantled the helpless Rockies 9-3. Colorado, they are 8-39.
Tough place to play.
It is a tough place to play.
It is.
for the Rockies.
Correct.
It's very tough.
But
for
that's
the
the thing
Rockies
about
to
the
play.
Rockies is they're all tough.
Yeah, every
Equally.
game. I mean, if Kyle Farmer and Nick Martini are your best players, then you got a problem.
Somehow the 8-win Rockies aren't the most disappointing team in baseball because these Orioles are just depressing to watch.
Yeah, the Orioles. So the Brewers won 5-4 over the Orioles. Baltimore has now dropped 7 in a row. They have 3 wins in the month of May. Yikes. The Marlins, they walked off the Cubs 8-7 in a back-and-forth game. I thought the Cubs were dead, then they were back alive, and then they're dead again. Casey did remind us all late last night, around midnight, of that. Thank you very much, Casey.
We appreciate it.
And then you have, finally, the Cardinals crushing the Tigers 11-4. Actually, that wasn't the final thing. The White Sox, they dropped another game, this time to the Mariners 5-1. Since beating the Cincinnati Reds in a series, they have not won a baseball game.
Of course. Of course.
Looks like we played them at the wrong time.
That's right. You always get a bad shake when you play the White Sox on one of their 40 wins in the 162-game season.
If the Reds take care of the White Sox, the Nationals, and the Marlins, I love where this team is at.
Yeah.
I love where they're at.
Yeah, no, that's the fun part about the Reds is they beat the good teams, lose to the bad ones.
That's right. NFL news. The league has officially greenlit players in the NFL participating in the 2028 Olympics for flag football.
Just looking ahead, I would figure we draft that flag football team sometime in the next 2 weeks.
That's right.
Awesome.
I think. Who do you think is the quarterback? Can't be Patrick Mahomes.
No, it's so easily Lamar.
You think so?
I think you just play that play against Sam Hubbard last year in Cincinnati, and it's
Can
like
you tush push in flag football?
I don't think you can stiff arm in flag football, can you?
Sure you can.
I think you can.
I thought that
That's
was
why I
illegal.
think Derrick Henry would be great at it.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
I think Derrick Henry, but I don't think Derrick Henry plays running back. I think Derrick Henry plays tight end.
Yeah, I think we could see Jamar and Tyreek Hill
I would agree with those two.
playing wide
I
receiver.
like CeeDee Lamb potentially.
Yeah.
Very shifty, slot
maybe
receiver.
I could see
Cooper
maybe
Kupp?
Cooper, I was gonna say
Hurrah.
Cooper Kupp. I was gonna say Cooper Kupp would get a spot.
I think the running back's very easily Alvin Kamara if he's healthy.
Yeah.
I think that's the dream flag football player. That'll be fun though. That'll be fun.
Hendrickson's looking for a contract through 2028, so I don't know if this could be something that can keep him occupied and
He goes and
busy
plays.
until that year.
Ooh, Everett says Jahmyr Gibbs. It's a great point. This would be fun. I'm really excited for this.
We also got to draft defense, right? I mean,
I think they play both ways.
Oh.
I don't believe there's substitutions. I don't know the Olympic rules for sure, but I know in most flag football it's 7-on-7, and then you have 9 or 10 guys on your team. So there is a rotation. Probably would have some linebackers, corners, and stuff as well, but I think they play both ways.
Maybe Trey Hendrickson will play on the flag football team. If they give him a deal and then he walks back on it immediately.
And then says, yeah, they're not happy with the deal.
Yeah.
I'll agree, I'll sign, and then 5 minutes later, not happy with what he just
Yeah.
agreed to. This will be big, right?
I think it's going to be huge. I also
I didn't think it
that
would initially,
they're
but the more I've thought about it, I'm like, I think there'll be a lot of intrigue, and then when you see how hard they're actually going to play, I think it could be big.
I think it's going to be awesome. I think it will be a one-and-done Olympic sport. I think after they play this
Is
year.
it just happening because you think it's in the U.S.?
It was
LA?
one of the sports we added for being the host city. Like breakdancing was added in the last one, and it was one and done as well. So I would assume
Well, that was a roaring
That was
success.
because
right. Well, then it's done. They said it won't come back. So I would assume the U.S. is gonna win this with NFL players against plumbers and everyone else. By
Oh, it's like the
50,000.
NBA back in the day.
Yeah, this is gonna be the Jordan era NBA, and it's gonna be pretty bad to watch. But I think it's gonna be fun. I don't know what the rules are gonna be. I saw some rumblings that potentially one per team.
Okay.
One per team players to go to the flag football. So if we got Joe Burrow playing quarterback, wouldn't be able to have Jamar, things along those lines. I don't know how that would work. I figure most players would want to play, so it's a tough sell,
Yeah.
if you're the best tight end in the league or something along those lines and you don't get to play because they pick Christian McCaffrey or you're George Kittle or something along those. I don't know what the answer is. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see who they pick, though.
Those are your headlines.
No.
Oh, no.
You
Well, wait,
missed
there's more.
by far the biggest headline in the sports world. By far.
See, you said it like that, and now I know it's not big.
Did you see? I thought you just peeked at my computer. Chad Graff of The Athletic officially reports that Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick are engaged.
No.
What?
Are you serious?
Jordan Hudson has reportedly told at least one source within North Carolina that she and Bill Belichick are engaged to be married. So I want to be the first to congratulate true love. It always finds a way.
That's
Jordan Hudson, Bill Belichick will spend the rest of their lives together. One
Rest
life
of
much
his
shorter
life.
than the other, but it's going to be a lot of fun for them in Chapel Hill. Being married, kids.
possibly they might adopt.
Maybe he
Pearl.
could be their OC.
So
choose love.
Choose love.
Just choose love one
Choose
time.
if
love.
Jordan Hudson comes out and says that they're engaged. My question is, does he know?
That's a good question.
Like, has
That's
he-
a good question, actually.
Well, I imagine he signed the check, so
Yeah, that's true.
Right. I wonder if he knows about her $9 million real estate portfolio.
I could be. Listen, who knows?
Maybe she went out and bought the ring
Yeah,
herself.
maybe.
That's
I
a
could
good.
see that.
She's not allowed in the facility anymore, so she has a lot of free time. Yeah.
She's out ring shopping since she's not drawn up plays for UNC.
True. It's good for. That's a good win for true love.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a great win for true love.
There's no way that ends positively, right?
No.
Like, not at all.
No.
And not just him.
Her
and
divorce
you.
with her last 70-year-old husband didn't end well either.
Oh, she has a pattern.
That's right.
Oh yeah, the last person she dated was like 60.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right in that sweet spot.
Yeah.
There's a chance for love even when you're old.
That's right. That's right.
go.
Don't give up.
Don't,
Don't ever give
if
up.
you're rich. If you are rich, as far as that goes. Hey, college football. Pat Ford came out with this and said that the Notre Dame USC rivalry that they have played 95 times since 1924, that is in danger of coming to an end after this current contract run. No surprise there, as we've talked about.
No.
Notre Dame eventually is going to have to sack up and join a conference because a lot of these teams are not going to bail them out and give be a part of their be a part of their schedule, if you will. But I did think that was interesting.
I think it's the only positive of potentially keeping those first four seeds in the playoffs, those buys in the college football playoff for the conference champions. It would surely force Notre Dame into a conference. So I don't think that's going to be the case. They've mentioned that they're going to vote for this upcoming season about taking away those buys for the highest ranked conference champions. We'll see what happens, but if those buys do go away for the conference champions, it takes away Notre Dame's need to join a conference, because then they can just go 10-2, 11-1, and still get one of those top four seeds if they're one of those top four ranked teams. But if those buys go to conference ranks or conference winners, Notre Dame will have to join a conference. So it's a shame that it seems like we're going to go that direction when these other teams are finally, sticking up to them. I wish they would have done it in 2020.
Oh, yeah. Last thing, too. Remember the fan who sued the NFL for Shador dropping in the draft? Yeah. Apparently, that wasn't just like he's going hard in the paint. The fan who has sued the NFL over the draft day freefall of Shador Sanders is pressing the case aggressively. Right now is currently seeking early discovery from the league. Like, this guy must have money. This is
he's Mel Kiper. He's been hosting the draft show for, 20 years now? He's got so many resources at his disposal.
He's going to represent himself in court. He kind of has that sleazy lawyer look to him anyways.
Yeah.
I think he would do just fine, but there you go. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. We'll figure out what the hell we're going to talk about when we come back. We're off the bench
Reds?
next. The Reds. There we go. All right, and we are back off the bench, off and rolling here on a Tuesday. Marty Brennaman joined us earlier. If you missed that, we'll have that cut up for you over on Chatterbox Sports YouTube channel, so go and check that out later. A lot of really good hard-hitting journalistic questions were thrown out towards the Hall of Famers, so you want to go back and check that out, please do so. We talked about the Reds get the win over the Pirates last night in Game 1. Obviously, Elly had a big night. A lot of guys had some big nights last night, which was good. And the Reds bats, hopefully this is, even Benson, because yesterday you weren't here. I wasn't being negative, but I said, well, I love what we just watched from Will Benson, but the big thing with him is the roller coaster and consistency runs that he likes to go on. So as much as I'm enjoying it, the Reds desperately needed it. How much do I buy into him being able to continue on that pace? I don't know, but he was able to continue last night. Obviously not knocking the ball out of the ballpark, but still getting extra base hits, still being able to make plays. But Elly was big last night. A lot of guys up and down that lineup were big, and that was just a big win. And this isn't – I don't care that they're playing the Pirates. I know a lot of people want to make, well, let me know when they beat a good team. That's fine. But after watching them lose against the White Sox, it was nice to see that they didn't play down to the level of their opponent, which is something that I know Pearl had mentioned yesterday about the Reds having a habit of doing that. We didn't see that last night, and I think that's a good thing. And I'm hoping that they can continue that on tonight because we talked about that significance of that Cubs series coming up this weekend. I don't know the last time the Reds had a huge series where we felt like, man, that's going to be a season-defining series. I believe the Cubs series is starting to being built up to be that. Marty was just on, and he truly believes it's one of the most winnable divisions out there, and the Reds have a shot. He believes that they still are a postseason contending team. They're not a postseason contending team if you drop these next two to the Pirates and then get run out of Great American Ballpark by the Cubs. You take care of business against the Pirates, you're going to get a lot of the doubters, the Elliots of the world that may not say that the season's back, but you have their attention. You're going to have our attention. And the series becomes even bigger on Friday, guys because Hunter Greene's back. Terry Francona announced yesterday that Hunter Greene will be back and he will make the start on Friday night. Thank God, because if I had to watch Chase Petty start against the Cubs on Friday night, I would have just not even tuned in. I would not have even watched. But Hunter Greene back on Friday, game 1 against the Cubs to set that tone, I think that's huge. And it obviously makes these next 2 games against the Pirates even that much more important. Don't destroy what you've built over the last 5 games to this point. They have to go out there. These almost could be, we don't ever use the phrase trap games in baseball.
Sure.
These 2 games are trap games because of the way that Cubs series is shaking out to be this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the Reds are in a spot right now where I know I said that they couldn't have a losing record going through an easy stretch. They did that. I mean, they failed. Right now, they're at a point where if you continue to lose games that you can win, you're setting yourself up for failure when you have to start playing the gauntlet that is the National League. And that's coming. That's coming very, very soon. You have to win one of these games. One of these next 2 games against the Pirates has to be a win. Based on how they looked yesterday, I believe they're going to win probably at least one. I think there's a chance they sweep this Pirates team, who, again, respectfully, is worthless. They have nobody and nothing. So I think that if you're the Cincinnati Reds, you look at these 2 games as must-win games. You look at them like you can't lose them, because if you do, obviously, and that's an easy thing to say, every team goes in every game thinking they're not going to lose. But my point being that you should acknowledge that you're favorites in the series. You should acknowledge that you're a better team than them, because you are. It's not remotely close. You should be utterly devastated if you lose a game in this series, because this is where you need to take advantage of the schedule, and I'm hoping they're able to do that and take that momentum against the Chicago Cubs. I don't know if they'll beat the Cubs. I think that's unlikely. But if they beat the Cubs, then we're talking about something. Then we're talking about a team that's fighting, and that is what I wanted to see, because it felt like there was a break there where the offense. Not that they don't try. I know professional athletes, they try. But it feels like when they're down, it's impossible for them to get back up.
They look defeated.
They do. They look like they've given it their all, and it's like, you know what, it's the 6th inning. We haven't scored a run. That's it. That can't happen anymore. Right. Will Benson, can he continue? Can he not? I don't care if he continues it. He's done enough already for the next month, in my eyes, that it's warranted that he stays here and starts every single day. I hope that he continues it, because if he does, it gives the Reds obviously a better chance than not. But the Reds have to take advantage of this series. You just have to. Stack these series wins. If we can get to, we're at 5 in a row now. Yep. If we can get to 7 games in a row, as I predicted, then yeah, I'm going to feel pretty good coming into that Cubs series, which would be, in my eyes, again, make or break. You can't win 7 in a row and then get swept. If you remember, that's what 2023. That's what that whole season was about.
100%.
It felt like they would win like 5 in a row, 6 in a row, 7 in a row. Even when they won 12 in a row, it felt like immediately after those winning streaks, they just lose an equal amount of games. And if you can find just a little bit more consistency, just a little bit more, you're going to be looking at a team that is fighting for the playoffs. Marty said they can fight for the playoffs. I don't know if I agree with that, just because of how hard the National League is.
What's
But
your
at
wild
least-
card number? What's the wins they have to get
The wild
to
card
be
number.
in that fight?
The
for
wild card
playoffs?
number would be 92.
So you think it'd be fighting with the Cubs? Is what you're
Correct.
saying. Okay.
Correct. And I think there's a world where the Reds could potentially compete with the Cubs. The Cubs really, really good offensively, maybe the best team in baseball offensively. Pitching wise, a lot to be desired given the injuries that are occurring over there. So, it's great pitching versus great offense. Who's going to win there? I always tend to favor offense, but if the Reds and Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo and Andrew Abbott and all these guys are able to pitch shutouts, if they're able to give me 6 innings of 1 to 2 run baseball, then you should have a shot. You should have a shot here to take advantage of the Pirates and the Cubs.
I just feel like also it's regardless of what each team has shown thus far, because like Cubs have started hot, we haven't really. Which team will have the most stamina throughout the season? Because Cubs could falter.
Yeah.
So I think that's the real tell too.
My issue with that is it feels like the Reds, when you bring up stamina and staying healthy, it's been the Achilles heel.
It's not even that. It's that if there's any bump in the road, it unravels them for a series or a week or something. If we lose one starting pitcher for one day, it seems like it doesn't just mean one loss, right?
Yeah.
It means 3, 4, losing 5 out of 7. What was the stretch we just went on? Losing 11 or 13, 1 or less runs in 9 of those. That's not stretches that I feel like good teams go on. Right? And I think that's my thing with the Reds is when you drop the ability against the Marlins and those easy teams that you should beat, I don't have the faith in them to put up consistent good games against the better teams to cover up for those losses. So when you dig yourself a relative hole, and I know we're 500 right now, and we aren't really in a hole, but I think that's the frustrating part is we're 500, and we know how much better we should be than this record, and this team doesn't have a lot of wiggle room. So the Cubs were projected, 20 more wins than the Reds throughout the season, and we're going into the season, and thinking about that, it just leads me to believe that the Reds don't have a lot of opportunities to let slip through their fingers if they want to compete with someone that was viewed as that much better.
And again, 7-1 the final last night. The thing
I believe everybody reached base. If I saw that right.
And what I was most impressed with, you put 7 runs up, you have 12 hits. You put 7 runs up, no home runs. That was just all getting guys on base, advancing the runner, small ball, just good, fundamental baseball.
And taking a 1-run lead with 2 outs in the 8th and winning that game without breaking a sweat.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Even against the Guards, they were giving up runs late,
right?
And still making you. I think you went to a game or two.
Yeah, I went to Saturdays, and Pagan closed all 3 games, right?
Yeah.
You get a save in all 3 games. That's. I love the wins. I love the sweep. Let's not get a save all 3 games.
Yeah.
Get some insurance
I think
runs.
Him and Santion all 3.
I think Pagan got it all 3.
I mean, like both of them.
Yes.
Pitched in all 3.
I think
right.
So.
And that's why last night, I don't know who was most impressive to you guys last night, but that's why I thought what Nick Lodolo did. I don't think it looked like his best stuff last night, but the fact that he was able to go 6 was huge because that bullpen's been taxed over the last week.
Mm-hmm.
At least taxed in regards to Francona has been he managed that guard series like it was a playoff series. Like he did go to the same guys out of the bullpen in consecutive days. When you asked Marty Brennaman about some of the things that you see that's different with Francona versus David Bell, you would not have seen those bullpen arms used that much over the weekend. I thought that was kind of refreshing. That was
Chase Petty pitches on Saturday with David Bell.
Yes.
100%, right?
Oh, for sure.
David Bell had a plan.
And this isn't a shot on David Bell.
No,
it's just the mindset.
David Bell had his whole week scheduled out, and there's nothing wrong with that. He had when these guys are going, how long they're going, righty, lefty.
If they looked great, it didn't matter, and if they looked terrible, it didn't matter. If he had them marked down for 5 innings, they were going 5 innings.
And that was probably a fair critique of David Bell. And though I don't think everything was his fault, I did feel like there was not enough elevation that he brought to the Reds that warranted him staying. Terry Francona. Marty said it in that interview. He's not the savior. He's not coming here to make guys that are hitting 185 hit 300. Players have to play well, but the way that he can help the pitching staff, which I believe he has this season, the bullpen, and when to use guys. I know fans, the analytic crowd has been frustrated with these decisions, some of them on Twitter over the past, I don't know how many months we've been playing, 49 games. And to that, I would say, let's wait a season to see what Terry Francona has to offer. As for the Reds as a whole, I don't know. But as Terry Francona as the manager, I think we've seen more good than bad. I like watching him in the post-game press conferences. I feel better about myself.
He does give off coach vibes.
He does.
There's not any manager in baseball that gives off coach vibes. And what I like about him is he doesn't give the same answer every night. He'll tell you, here's why we did this. Here's what I thought. You don't have to like it. There's been a lot of stuff I know you guys have not agreed with what he's done, but he says it confidently. He says it with his chest, and he sits on he's fine with his decisions. He's even admitted when he's wrong. I mean, he's even said before if he can go back to opening day that he would not go to Elliott's dude, Jabot, to go close that one out.
What's his WAR at these days?
Who, Ian?
No, Francona. How many more we got to get to 10?
It's a good question, actually.
Because we're going to have to track that.
My issue, though, right now is...
he has at least 3 or 4 full game minuses.
My issue is he hasn't changed the way the Reds operate in terms, extra inning games. Whenever the Reds need to be clutch, it feels like we don't have that clutch gene. And I thought Terry would help with that.
The defense has been a lot better.
Defense has improved. 0-5 in extra inning games. They still can't figure out to win the rubber match games.
Correct.
And that's what I start to get confused with. As for what Terry's WAR is, I do think he has a positive WAR.
I agree. I would agree.
I don't think it's a lot. I don't think it's he's not at 10 wins. He's at probably about, what do you think, a win and a half?
Probably right around there.
So I think Terry's done a solid job. I think the players have bought in to what he's trying to get across. You know what I mean? They just have to execute better.
Yeah.
I thought this past weekend was his best work.
100%.
That guard series was his best work. My only problem with that, and it was like the Will Benson thing. Now, Will Benson at least said he's been out of Cleveland for a few years, so that revenge tour thing, that's a thing of the past. What I don't want to see is Terry manage his best series because he's motivated against his former team. I don't want to see Will Benson have 4 home runs in 3 games only because it's your former team. We need you to do that against the Pirates and the Cubs and others. And I don't think that's exactly what that was, but that would have bummed me out if they embarrassed themselves last night in Game 1 after dominating against the Guardians, when it did feel like we got the best of Terry Francona, you get the best of Will Benson. That's great that you find your little motivational factors, but don't let that be the only motivational factor.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the case. They showed that last night. I was glad to see Benson get that extra base hit last night, just because that first 0-for game that he has, not that the wheels are falling off, but I think a lot of people are going to be a little uncomfortable. Like, okay, what does he do after that? And I think that's a fair question, but good for him for keeping this little run going.
It's it's streaky hitters. The Reds have had streaky hitters. Jay Bruce is one of the streakiest hitters I've ever seen. So there's that's been a thing. The issue with this team is it's difficult. It's difficult to have everybody go on a bad streak at the same time, and that's what it kind of feels like at times. My question to you guys would be, and again, I know Tyler Stevenson has a role. I know Tyler Stevenson has a role in this team. He's the starting catcher. But at what point does taking Jose Trevino out of that role start hurting the Reds more than it is to keep Tyler Stevenson in it?
That's what I was worried about when he came back.
Right.
And I think we didn't have a debate, but we were not seeing eye to eye
Correct.
on that particular case. What I was concerned about, the margin for error with this offense is so thin that they were in the middle of a nice little streak at that point. I was like, man, I actually don't like that Stevenson's coming back. It's one thing if the offense was flat and they were bringing Stevenson back and you were hoping that would be an insurgence into the lineup. And I'm not blaming Stevenson. I'm not even blaming the Reds for calling him back. He's your starting catcher. You got to bring him back. It was just a tough spot to be in. But that was my concern. This team is fragile when it comes to up here, and I feel like that messed with them a little bit. But to their credit, they were trying to find ways to keep wins in, trying to find ways to keep, obviously, Trevino in. But, yeah, Stevenson has not been good.
And I think a big caveat to that makes it a little harder to swallow putting him in there is he hasn't been very good defensively. Yeah. There's been a 100% steal rate against Tyler Stevenson since he came back as well, and that was our big gripe with Jose Trevino is, okay, he's hitting fine, but he's struggling behind the plate, so we think he's great at framing, don't get me wrong, but he's one of the worst arms in the league when it comes to catching runners. And we thought, well, maybe the best version of Tyler Stevenson when it comes to both defense and offense, the well-rounded catcher, maybe that is better than Jose Trevino hitting a 300 and not being able to get any runners out. Now it seems like Stevenson's worse or the same at both offense and defense, at least right now. But then I guess the question on the other side of that is, how does Tyler Stevenson get better if he's on the bench every day behind Jose Trevino and Austin Wynns? Do we think this Reds team's worth a damn without Tyler Stevenson down the stretch? So I don't know. I think you have to keep him in there. Maybe not every day. Maybe he should DH more. Jose Trevino certainly still needs significant amounts of playing time, but I don't know how you can look at this lineup and willingly keep Tyler Stevenson on the bench most days.
My thing, though, is, and it's been my issue with this Reds team for a while, I agree that the young guys should have at-bats here. I get that. But at what point does this become practice when we should be trying to win games? You know what I mean?
It's true.
Tyler Stevenson, I love him. I'm sure this is just a slow start from coming back from an injury. He's got a little bit of time with me to figure this out. But, when Noelvi Marte was struggling last year, at what point is it, all right, you're getting your at-bats, you're seeing Major League pitching, but it's not working, so what are we doing?
Right, that's fair.
If Tyler Stevenson continues this for the next month, I think we're looking at a different conversation.
Yeah.
And he's no stranger to that. They've done that with him in the past. So my thing is, if Jose Trevino leads the team in doubles, I think he's still hitting 300, 309. Yeah. So, I just don't think taking him out of the lineup helps anything at all, regardless of the arm strength, because they both can't throw to second right now. So it's like, would I rather have a guy hitting 185 or a guy hitting 300 and leading the team in extra base, or leading the team in doubles?
And that's the thing about Trevino is, in his career, when he's had good stretches of hitting, it's been slap singles.
Yeah.
Now he's a legitimate gap-hitting, semi-power bat. I know he doesn't have a ton of home runs, but leads the team in doubles. I mean, this is a guy that's as consistent as they come, both, offensively and when it comes to calling games. He's done a great job so far. We talked countlessly about how great this pitching staff was through the front half of the year when Stevenson was nowhere to be seen. And, obviously it's still been good with Stevenson behind the plate. He called a great game yesterday, but Trevino gives you a lot behind there. And I think he's deserved that playing time. It's just tough to swallow because coming into the season, I think everyone would have had Tyler Stevenson in their top 3 or 4 guys that they believed in on this roster.
Yeah.
So in a roster where you don't have a lot of faith in a lot of these guys, even though he is struggling right now, taking one of those few names you think can be a pseudo-star out of that lineup is a tough pill to swallow.
Yep.
All right, off the bench, we'll step away for a few moments. Baseball this past weekend was one of the most attended weekends in baseball over the last 13 years. What did baseball do to attract such a large increase in live attendance? We'll discuss that when we come back. The Reds swept the Guardians at home over the weekend, and you were at the game.
I was.
How many games did you go to?
2. I went Saturday and Sunday.
What was it? Attendance pretty good at both?
Saturday was pretty good. We had one of the classic Reds game situations. Went with 3 friends. We all had tickets in different sections.
Okay.
And we actually got stuck up top. Most of the lower bowl was pretty full. So that was very exciting to see. Usually you need a memorial for a legend or opening day in order to get 40,000 people down to Great American. It wasn't quite that high, but certainly a full lower bowl, which was phenomenal to see. You don't get that a lot. And then Saturday or Sunday was, so empty.
Yeah.
And if I could, if I had shorts on right now, I'd pull them up a little bit, and you'd see that both of my thighs are boiling. There's actually bubbles on both thighs. I wore. You can see a little color on my arms. That does better. But I'm a pants guy, and so it's the first time this summer my pasty whites have been out. And I went down to Great American at a 140 pitch, and that thing's just an air fryer. You sit in that seat and you just cook for 2 hours and 20 minutes now. So I'm fighting the good fight on my lower body with the sunburn.
I've learned on opening day the last couple of years with the Reds, like one time we sat on the first base side. Opening day is always a little chillier, obviously, since they keep moving up the damn season. We have opening day on January 1st. We're going up against the college football playoffs. But that first year was way too cold sitting in that first base side. So now we always get left field seats, like sitting in the outfield, because that's where the sun beats down. So we've had success the last 2 years taking advantage of that. But yeah, that's trying to figure out the weather in Ohio the first couple months of Reds baseball, kind of tough. But full house, or at least a packed house at Great American Ballpark, but not just at Great American Ballpark. A lot of ballparks throughout baseball this past weekend. Pretty full, and it's thanks to an initiative from Major League Baseball with Rivalry Weekend. What happened over the weekend that led to a huge success?
Yeah, the inaugural Rivalry Weekend drew 1,608,475 fans across 45 games, producing MLB's best weekend total, which is an average of 35,744 in attendance prior to Memorial Day weekend since May 18 through 20th in 2012.
Again, Rivalry Weekend. Now, when baseball usually does Rivalry Weekend, what do you usually get? You get your Yankees and your Red Sox, right? You usually get your Dodgers and your Giants. You usually get your Reds and your Cubs or whatever, which is fine. But these were, as you said during the break, more geographical rivalries, and they were more, because I was trying to figure out. Usually the Reds always do a 2-game series with the Guards, but having a 3-game series on a weekend was kind of new, and that's something that people have been screaming about for a while. Put the dang Guards-Reds series on a weekend and let people go attend that thing. But you obviously had the White Sox and the Cubs. You had the Mets and the Yankees, Braves, Red Sox. You had, obviously, the Angels and the Dodgers, Reds, Guards. A successful weekend at that. I kind of like that little rivalry weekend. It was different. It wasn't your divisional rivals. It was outside the box a bit, and a successful weekend for Major League Baseball. A rare win for Rob Manfred.
Yeah. Storied rivals, Twins and Brewers. The Rockies and the Diamondbacks. It was great, truly great rivalries. What was the Vetter Cup? The Padres first annual. Yeah.
You're being negative. I'm going to separate you two.
I'm being negative about the name of the weekend.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not rivalry.
You didn't like
the Vetter Cup's really weird.
It's fine.
Okay.
The geographical teams playing each other in one weekend.
You're saying a lot were forced.
It drives attendance. Clearly,
Yeah.
the attendance was massive, and I think they should do this. Orchestrate part of a 162-game season around the fans. And what's a better way to get a bunch of fans to the ballpark than having two teams that are very close together play a series against each other? I love it. Half of these aren't rivals. Half of these teams have no ill will against each other, and they never have. And all of these teams have other rivals out there. I don't think you had to change Rivalry Weekend, or I guess start Rivalry Weekend, and then not have rivals happen. I think having a Rivalry Weekend and then having a geographical weekend is fine.
Yeah.
I just, we did a whole video last year about how the Reds and the Guardians is not a real rivalry.
Yeah.
That one guy thought the Ohio Cup was the World Series trophy.
So we went out, and I don't know if you remember this, Justin. When we went out and did that last year, I did the whole bit where I went man on the street, and I basically went outside Great American Ballpark,
Right.
and I asked.
I don't think I had started yet. I don't think
you had either.
Yeah.
So when I did this bit, I basically asked, I had 3 separate trophies. I think it was like the World Cup trophy, WBC, and then it was the Ohio Cup trophy, and nobody was there for the Ohio Cup.
Not a soul.
It's not really a rivalry. I mean, the Reds social media account and the Cleveland social media account, they do a good job at kind of playing with it. Do I see the Cleveland Guardians as a rival? No, I don't see the Cleveland
They just need to call it something different.
Yeah.
It appeals, but it's not a real rivalry.
No.
Well, I think what helps, the geographical matchups, too.
Yeah.
The Yankee State, there's a lot of Mets fans even in Yankee territory. There's a lot of Yankee fans in Met territory. So you automatically are going to have a big flood of fans that are already in position to go to that. There could be a good amount of potential Ohio Guardians fans here in Cincinnati.
And let me tell you, there was a lot of Guardians fans at those games. There was one point where I was in line for the concessions and there was cheers. To
Dang.
the point where I was like, oh, the Reds did something well. And I came back and was like, we're pitching.
Oh, no.
And yeah, it was a double for the Guardians. I was like, it was shocking. Cubs-esque in terms of that Guardians-Reds split in that stadium this weekend. It was
They should
wild.
just call it convenience weekend. It was convenient.
I love that.
It's convenient weekend. It's convenient for a lot of fans who are geographically close to make the trip for that particular game. As far as that goes, yeah, Mets, Yankees, White Sox, Cubs.
You think
stuff
it had
like
anything to do with the weather? I'm not a weather guy, so I don't know what the weather
Used to be.
was in all of the states in the country. So, but I'd imagine it being so beautiful out here. And probably a lot of other places had to do with it as well. And it being a weekend. Weekends when people go to baseball games, especially for small market teams.
Pro, is there an opponent for the Reds that you're like, I have to go watch that team? Or is it just, I have time, I'm going to go to a Reds game, it doesn't matter the opponent?
I mean, I prefer NL Central matchups for sure.
Fair enough. What about you guys? Like, is there, I mean, now that they play everybody.
I like when the Reds play the teams from I like interleague play.
I like the big teams.
So if the Yankees, the Red Sox, I like seeing the Athletics. I know the Athletics are the Athletics, but I like seeing teams from the American League come to town. I think that's always been fun.
I feel like since they've like changed it and everybody plays everybody, it's just like lost its. It's less special.
Yeah, that's true. No, you're right. I still have always like.
I get it.
It's just I'm used to the Miami Marlins and the Colorado Rockies, and I'm just used to all those teams. Even though you play them all in the American League, I still like seeing it just because it's it's just something. It still feels different, less special, like you said, but it's still a little bit different than playing the National League.
It's outside of the Cubs series. My favorite ones is just any of the stars. I mean, Dodgers come to town, Yankees come to town. Yeah. You get any superstar MVP winner, Angels, see Mike Trout, like any of that. I saw some Reds fans that
Angels love when they see Mike Trout.
That's true.
They really do.
You know, maybe you could see Rendon. Maybe he'd be in a sweatsuit down there.
What's he? Is he played this year?
God no, Elliot. What do you mean? Since he signed with the Angels, the Nationals have less starting third baseman.
Was he injured?
Absurd.
Is he hurt again?
No, I think he's taking a break.
Yeah, I would take a break too.
You see Juan Soto getting ripped by Mets media and fans for, he's fat and happy now. He's paid.
Emphasis on the fat, not as much on the happy.
So, I mean,
disrespect.
I mean, he looks miserable.
Yeah.
And they're good.
That's, maybe too much money does that to a person. Maybe this is why everybody needs to sign for less money.
Yeah.
Come to the Reds for $5 million for 5 years. Have some fun.
You know which team is very good at not paying players what they're supposed to be played? This
Pirates.
is the perfect transition into our next topic, the Cincinnati Bengals. And what's going on in Cincinnati right now, Jake?
All sunshine and rainbows in the jungle. We know that, right? No distractions this offseason. Smooth sailing for the Cincinnati Bengals. And their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, is still holding out. Now into phase 2. Standing on the sideline, not in uniform, will not practice.
He's a bum, right? He's a bum? He's
wrong?
wrong?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like that he's holding out.
You want to let me finish?
Oh, yeah, my bad. We both interrupted.
No,
yeah,
you're
that's
fine.
What we do.
Shamar Stewart is requesting that his contract language mirror the language of the Bengals' last 2 first-round picks. Both of those first-round picks selected after pick 17. He just wants the same amount of guarantees as their last 2 years' first-round picks.
Okay.
Seems reasonable if you ask me.
Seems like, how far off are they here?
That's the question.
It's
potentially significantly. Gray Zabel, the 18th pick right behind Shamar to the Seahawks, signed a fully guaranteed contract a few weeks ago. So Bengals really probably have no intention of offering him a fully guaranteed deal. I have seen some people posing the question on Twitter, did they draft him and then watch the film?
See, I was going to make a joke about that, but I don't know because it seems like we like you. We're going to draft you, but also we don't.
We're going to draft you at 17, but we want to pay you like we took you in the second round.
Yeah, that seems pretty crazy.
That's a vote of confidence right there.
Or they have this mindset like we did you a favor by drafting you in the first round, so you need to do us a favor and not get the. Not saying that's right or wrong, but we talked about that last week about is this them now post draft admitting that like we don't view him as a guy that like most first round draft picks your team is excited about that individual and you're willing to give him whatever because you just want to get that relationship off to a good start. The Bengals are doing everything they can to not get this off to a good start, and initially. It was a lot of people, including me, looking at Shamar Stewart like, come on, dude. Like, you're a rookie. You shouldn't be making this much noise. Like, get out there. But it seems like this is a Bengals problem.
Certainly seems like there's more blame to go around than I thought originally. Yeah, originally there's, most of the draft picks that hadn't signed their contract yet were still out there, still participating, going through drills, things along those lines while they're working through those negotiations. Certainly a red flag pops up when Shamar Stewart is on the sidelines for rookie minicamp while he's going through those negotiations. I had zero expectation that it would be done by then. However, now we're starting to see most of these first-round picks signed. And I don't have an exact number for you, but I would say that the majority of the first round has signed their contracts now, or at least it feels that way. And the Bengals, you have to get this done. I don't know how you draft a player like Shamar Stewart and then have a plan to get him on the field. And I don't mean starting. I think we all kind of recognize that maybe his best role with this team isn't starting. But out on the field developing is a major concern we have with our first-round pick, and now we're wasting time over a few $1 million guaranteed here and there for injury.
The first-round pick, who, by the way, his job is to replace the other guy who's holding out.
Right.
So the Bengals, listen, I'm on the Bengals side regarding Trey Hendrickson. Probably about 100% I'm on their side on that in that case. When you look at this one, vastly different. If you believe in Shamar Stewart, and if you're going to take him with the 17th overall pick, for the sole purpose of replacing Trey Hendrickson, you have to know you have to pay him.
Correct.
You have to. You
also know what you have to pay him. So that whole point is, it's set for you.
Yeah.
You're arguing about training camp guarantees.
Yeah. It makes no sense. And this is why people get frustrated with the Bengals. When I say I want little distractions, I don't want any distractions heading into the season. I feel like they want the distractions.
I think they do.
I think they like people talking.
They got Jamar and T done, and they were like, "Shoot, what are they going to talk about now?"
Well, I think they did that, and they're like, "All right, summer break."
No, you're right.
We did our job. It doesn't matter what everybody else says. We did our job.
They said we don't negotiate during the season, almost like wiping their hands, like, "Hey, we're done. We did our part. You guys go play football." Now it's like we paid the stars, and now it's like, all right, we did our part. Everyone else go play football. Like
Trey keeps putting all this stuff out in the media. It seems like Shamar is starting to go that direction too. They don't even have any idea the front office isn't here.
Yeah.
I mean, the front office is gone for another month. So good luck.
Oh wow! Like really?
I would assume. I mean, it's all family. You'd probably just go on vacation.
How do you live comfortably in Cincinnati, knowing that you're just effing stuff up left and right, and you just got to go eat dinner and act like everything's fine? Like I don't know. They probably can't afford to go eat dinner because they have to pay all these contracts.
If the Castellinis are all right, I think the Browns are doing okay.
I think they're okay.
Fair enough.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves in this city when people compare the Reds and Bengals. I just don't feel like they're close.
Who's more off?
Bengals were in a Super Bowl 4 years ago.
Yeah, the Reds aren't competitive.
The Reds haven't advanced in the playoffs since 1995.
The Reds aren't competitive.
Oh, no, I didn't have a heart take one way or another.
No, that's what I mean, though. It's like I feel like it's.
I saw it.
I feel like it's so drastic.
They're not even in the same. They don't even play this. They're not even in the same universe. Those two. So.
What's worse though, if you fail with talent or fail without talent? And
never
the Bengals
haven't
failed yet.
Let me ask you this: is it better to have success or to never have success? Because the Reds have never had success in my lifetime, not one time. So.
25 and 24, baby.
And which
right.
one is failing with talent? Having this core and never making the playoffs, or having the Bengals core and losing in the Super Bowl? Which one is failing?
We don't need to get into it. But they haven't been succeeding the last 2 years.
That's true.
The Reds are 7-0.
That Super Bowl thing was a huge, that's going to make – that's a soft landing spot for any failures that happen moving forward.
And it should be. It should be. They should get the benefit of the doubt of making a Super Bowl.
Also, people say it's loser talk for me to be like, we made a Super Bowl. I'm a loser. I grew up in Cincinnati. I root for the Bengals and the Reds. We're losers.
Yeah,
we take those wins,
and we're
going to hang the banner for winning the AFC because we might never do it again.
I'll hold on to it for as long as I can.
Right. No, that's loser talk. Welcome to Cincinnati.
There you go. All right, well, that wraps it up for us on radio. Until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton.
How about that weather?
Beautiful weather. Pearl, what are we talking about? Got 9 minutes. Putting you on the spot. 9 minutes. Ready, go.
Are we not talking about the season ticket thing? No?
Don't tell me what to do.
I don't
First
know.
of all,
I was reading the lineup.
Pearl's new to this. Pearl's new to this.
See, we're off the radio now, so we're not going to use one of our good segment ideas.
Yeah.
For this 9 minutes.
Save
that for tomorrow.
Pearl.
Well,
Come
I don't
on.
know.
That's the plan
I'm
here.
new.
She's she now.
We got to keep the good ones in the back pocket.
Okay.
yeah.
Can we get in the chat? Can we convince Casey to name his child after me? That's what I would. That's what I
we
want.
could do crap in the chat.
We already.
I guess.
So hang on. We already have a name. It's Sawyer. Sawyer Jean.
Oh, it's her point. Down by the river. Right by the stadium. Sawyer's Point.
You a Buckeye fan too?
That was
That was
good.
pretty quick, too.
That was good.
No.
That was right on it.
Thank you.
That was
Appreciate it.
right on
When
it.
did you decide on the name? Was
Ellie-
it Ohio State, Texas?
No. I has nothing to do with sports. Nothing to do with sports.
Just your favorite spot by the Ohio River. Your favorite public park in the city.
Sure.
Probably a real personal reason, and this is just
100%.
awkward. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tom.
Based
Sure,
on
it's
his
connected
age.
family.
What about Tom?
Oh, it could be Tom. Is this a roundabout way for you to name it after or Tom Brennaman?
No, this is not.
Is it Tom with an H or just Tom?
It's
Neither.
just Sawyer, actually.
It's just Sawyer. It's Sawyer Jean. Sawyer Jean McCollister. Now, I said maybe I might use Elliot as like the third middle name.
That's-
I wanted
I'll take
to, like,
that. I'll
Really,
take that.
Third middle name?
Oh, I'll
so
take
you
that.
have a second middle name in your back pocket? and
I'll take
you're gonna
that.
Put Elliot
Yeah,
third?
yeah. It was probably gonna be something like Sawyer Jean Pearl Elliot McCollister.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm before you.
Okay. What about Sawyer, Jean, Pearl, Kinner, Reed, Trace, Sean, Jacob, Elliot
Holy
McCollister?
crap. You're
Yeah.
going to make that kid be bullied.
Their full name is just an acronym. 10 letters.
What is the acronym of that?
I don't know. I can
some
figure it out. I'll
research.
figure it out in a second.
Do some research.
But yeah,
Okay, Casey. All right, you're not gonna let me. That's fine.
sorry,
It's okay.
it's been decided.
SJPRTSJEM. McCollister.
No, I don't think that was anything. I thought that was gonna be something. It wasn't anything.
No, I thought so too.
that was.
I thought
there
maybe
any
it
way
would
that
come
you
to
can-
me when I started reading the
Yeah.
abbreviation. Didn't.
Is there any way that you can rearrange that?
Maybe. I'm sure you can figure that out in your free time. It's your
Yeah,
kid.
sure, I could. I sure could.
Anything else? We good?
I think we're good. If you want to be good, we're good.
Yeah.
What? By the way, real quick before we go, score prediction.
Ooh,
Oh,
they put
yeah.
up. So I was actually happy they stopped putting runs up last night at a certain point because I was really terrified if they put up 10 or more runs. I was really terrified for how the rest of the series was going to go. What's a safe number of runs that they could put up that you're not worried that they used all their offensive explosiveness for a series? Is 7 still a safe number that we don't have to worry about them using all the bullets in the chamber for the remainder of the series?
No, honestly, 2's not a safe number because we've seen them get shut out 0-1 plenty of times. So I feel like 7 is pretty close to that line. I'm worried about tonight.
The Pirates. I'm trying to go. So the last time they scored more than 4 runs.
Did you see that stat last night about them?
They're real bad.
I did see the runnings and scoring position one.
Well, no, and you're looking it up, so I don't want to. I'll let you look it
I've
up.
got the date. The last time the last time the Pittsburgh Pirates scored more than 4 runs in a game. Any guesses?
I want to say since
About a week.
Late April.
March.
April 22nd
Oh,
is the
sweet
last
Jesus.
time. It's
There we go.
May 20th. The Pirates have not scored more than 4 runs since April 22nd.
Well,
Yeah, 'cause
at
the
least
stat-
we're not the Pirates.
The stat from the game last
That's
night.
right. That is right. At least the Reds are not the Pirates. That is what I've been saying for years, Pearl. Years.
Sadat kept bringing up the fact that the Pirates had gone like 24 games without 3 or more runs, without more than 3 runs.
Well, no, I don't think that's true. Because they scored 3 runs in their loss against the Phillies a couple days ago.
So maybe it was like your stat, then 4 or more. So
I think-
more than 3 runs, I guess. But either
Fun
way.
part about the Reds is we know if they're going to win the series, they got to do it tonight.
They do.
Can't lose tonight and then
Cannot
expect
lose.
them to win in Game
Especially
3.
that,
You
especially
have to
that
win
noon
tonight.
game, that
Yeah.
12:35 game on Wednesday. No, what is today? Thursday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
tomorrow.
You had it, man. You had it.
tomorrow's the game.
One or 2
You
more.
We're
were
2
Never
days
mind.
off.
Yeah.
Score prediction.
I'll go 5-3.
Okay.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do it or me? 1-0 Pirates.
1-0 Reds.
Ooh.
1-0 Reds.
Yeah. That stinks.
Wait, you said 5-3. 5-3 what?
5-3 Reds.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
There's no rule.
You can't
have the
double
same.
down.
What? No, that's what I was already about to say before he said it.
Are we gonna split the winnings?
What do we win?
Well, it's
Yeah.
pride, and you can't split pride. If it was
Cannot
money, we
split
could
it.
split it 50-50.
Cannot split pride.
So you're
I
gonna
can
have
still
to
be
get it
right if I'm right.
Well, Elliot and I both
I
try
tell
to
you
pick
what,
1-0
we'll
against
both-
the Reds every game.
Her and I will both pick 5-3 Reds, but I'll let you take all the credit for
Okay.
the 5-3 final tomorrow.
Okay.
It's like I don't even exist.
Okay.
So there you go.
Congrats. Casey?
3-2 Reds. How about that?
Wow.
We'll
In
take
between 1-0 and 5-3.
Big old pitchers duel.
Mm.
Pittsburgh.
That's right. That's right.
Tonight.
I saw people were really excited that we missed Skeens again. It was like, I'm depressed every
Yeah.
time the Pirates come here and Paul
Well,
Skeens
there's
doesn't
no
pitch.
excuse to drop games.
Yeah.
No.
We're going to lose 85 games anyway. I wanna
Okay,
see
no,
Paul Skeens.
against the Pirates, there's no excuse. We're not
But I
facing
want to see
Skeens.
Paul Skeens pitch.
Well, I want to win, so.
That's fair.
I don't think we want to see Paul Skeens pitch. He's going to be playing for the Dodgers real soon. So,
That's true. Speaking of,
or the Yankees.
Passan, man, reel it in, buddy.
What was he doing? What was he
He's
doing?
out there saying the team should be calling the Pirates.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We talked
I'm
about
with
that
Passan.
lightly yesterday.
I'm with Passan.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Let me ask you this, though.
We know that it's not Passan, right?
I know it's. Huh?
When he says takes that I don't like, he's Passan.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's a bit and just that we're not. I don't want this to be like a Luis Robert
Okay.
situation.
No, it's
Robert,
passion.
But okay, fair enough. All right.
Passan's way better to say.
Right.
No, I think if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, realistically, of course, a good organization locks up Paul Skeens for the next 25 years. That's what a good organization does. The Pirates, however, you know they're not going to spend. They haven't signed a multi-year free agent since 2016. So if you're not going to spend money on the roster at all, why would you take a guy
Why are
who's...
those the two options?
Because that's the options for them.
No, it's not. They have a
What do they
very,
have?
very clear third option that they're going to take.
What's the third option?
You walk Paul Skeens out there with a $50 million payroll for the next 3 years while he's under team control, and you put butts in seats.
Or hear me out, you trade Paul for guys that play every day instead of once every 5 days.
But you can do that in 3 years.
And maybe you could win. Yeah, you could. No, I'm not saying now. Yeah, I'm not saying now.
He's saying now.
Oh, then yeah,
that's
not
what I'm
now.
saying
No,
is
I'm not saying that
disgusting.
now.
Is that he's suggesting that small market teams. It's the same thing Wilbon said when he was like, "We'd care about the Rockies
Yeah.
if they weren't the Rockies." It's like this is why baseball is the haves and the have-nots. Is because they don't care about the small market teams.
It's true. They do not. They do not, and it's a shame. But the Pirates have done it to themselves. So
Ooh, Kelsey Conway's upset.
About
She
what?
always is. She doesn't get to work in Baltimore anymore.
So Jordan Schultz tweeted out what you reported earlier about, or what you read earlier about the Shamar Stewart thing. But Jordan Schultz, who, by the way, when did he become like the number one guy that the Bengals leak everything?
Him, T, and Jamar are
Pretty close?
very close.
So 25 minutes ago, Jordan Schultz tweeted out that the Bengals' first-round defensive end Shamar Stewart will remain sidelined as Phase 2 of the offseason workouts begin today due to a disagreement over contract language in the rookie deal. Kelsey Conway, let me make sure. Yeah, she's with the Inquirer. Just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if she took another job elsewhere. But nonetheless, she says, let's give credit to the reporter who reported this, shall we? Well, she always has her comments turned off. She made sure to turn her comments back on just so he
Very
can
nice.
respond. I mean,
no,
it's,
good for
yeah.
her. Good for her. We do have some Browns news as we're wrapping up the show. I know you're not a fan anymore, but I
Nah,
thought I'd update
tell me
you.
about my former team. I would love to hear about what my former team's up to.
This is
What are they up to?
some fun Shador news about the Shador Sanders pick. A lot of people thought that it was the ownership making the decision.
okay.
It reported by Brett Coleman, who says sources close to the organization have led the reporters on the Browns to believe that it was Andrew Berry acting alone, adding Shador Sanders, which is why there was so much shock in the room.
Shock. I mean, there was no energy, emotion at all in the room.
Yeah, I guess that's what they're saying is that lack of emotion is because that it was an Andrew Berry solo move.
I thought you were talking about the other thing that came out, which is the depth chart currently for the quarterback situation for the Browns.
What is
Kenny
it?
Pickett and Dylan Gabriel are splitting first team reps. Joe Flacco second. Shador Sanders third.
Yeah, so one of exactly what we said after they drafted Shador is going to happen. One of Kenny or Flacco is going to make the team. The other one gets cut. Dylan Gabriel's the backup. Shador's the emergency QB3. Right?
Yeah.
To be fair, that's not the official. That they're predicting. It was Mary Kay Cabot. She came out. I keep it.
Seems
tabs
like
on
it
my
seems
former
seems
team.
like you know.
It seems like you might be a Browns fan.
You really know.
Seems like you might be a Browns
I feel like you
fan.
should know this information.
You should have to
Rabbits all the
unfollow
break.
Mary Kay
That should have
Cabot.
been breaking news that Casey just gave you, and
Yeah.
now we all say, "Wow, that's interesting."
Yeah,
Okay,
see,
let's
that was
take-
actually a trap that I set for you.
Let's take out the fact that I am a former Browns fan. Let's take out the fact that you guys are Bengals fans that
Sure.
dislike the Browns. In what world is Kenny Pickett better than Joe Flacco? Is he better than Joe Flacco?
No,
Do you
but
think he's
the
better
money
than-
is a little harder to justify cutting him. I think Flacco's a clean cut, and Kenny has some that gets left behind. So that's the only reason I mean. That's
New
the only
Orleans
reason.
Saints, you there?
Right. I think they're calling about their guy. I think they're calling about old Jameis. So you can eat some dubs down there.
Calling the old Giants.
I also think they're very, very happy with Jake. What's his face? Shook. I love saying
That's a good way to describe him. What's his face?
Who is that? Who the
Nobody's
Saints
gonna remember
took?
that guy's
Yeah,
name.
25-year-old.
Do you think they swoop in and take away Rod?
No, I think Rodgers is either playing for the Steelers, which is my guess, or he's done.
Mason Rudolph.
You don't schedule. I mean, these NFL schedulers have brains.
Yeah.
You don't schedule Jets Steelers on week 1 for Justin Fields. I'm just not buying.
No, I'm agreeing with you, but like
As an Ohio State guy, though, I think that they might.
The schedule makers are actually Michigan fans.
Oh.
Hey, let Pearl know on the way out why we have those crowns underneath there.
The what?
No, I
Hey,
don't
Pearl,
wanna do
say
that. That'll be-
Elliot. Ask Elliot why do we have Burger King crowns underneath?
That'll be
Why?
Pearl. That'll be later. Pearl. That'll be later.
Okay.
If you,
There's
We're
one right
actually
here, too.
coming up on it, right? The end of season basketball tournament. It's like 2-3 weeks away.
My Cincinnati Bearcats played in the historic Crown Invitational. Very few were invited to that event, and that's why they're there.
It's prestigious.
But hopefully next year.
A-list?
Hopefully they're not there next year.
Very few invited to the event. Even more turned it down.
End the show.
They gotta win. They gotta win. Did they?
Did they get?
They won.
They won.
a
They won a
game.
game.
They won a game.
Yeah,
Okay.
they won a game.
Phew. Oh, close one. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. We'll do it again tomorrow. Until tomorrow, off the bench. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube.
Love you.